Hello, everyone, and welcome back to VectoScalar Tech Talk show. You have been an amazing audience in the past. I am sure we are going to have similar kind of interaction during today's Tech Talk as well. Sustainability is big time hitting the market, and we need specific solutions to address that problem that we are facing these days. And in the same sequence, we have an amazing speaker, Madhavan, with us, who is going to talk about that how to leverage data to achieve the desired impact. Welcome, Madhav, to VectoScalar Tech Talk.
Yeah, hello, Vikas. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. And to give you a quick introduction about Madhav, Madhav Venkatesh is the CTO at Trust Trace, where he specializes in leveraging digital technologies to help brands become more sustainable. He has held senior technology roles at HCL Technologies and has worked across industries to build solutions around digital and IoT. Passionate about solving complex challenges through technological solutions, he holds several patents in areas such as SaaS. That is an amazing journey, Madhav. I'm sure you must have really enjoyed this diverse background. So please help us understand first that what Trust Trace actually does and what's your role there.
Sure. So, if you look at the problem of sustainability, right? I mean, I think all of us. This is one of the topic which all of us talk more, but can act less. Okay, because
Yeah.
the problem is so complex. If you take, for example, today we are all looking at the changing weather patterns. Etc. And then we try to see okay how we can reduce the carbon footprint so that I think we the ocean heating up and all the biodiversity losses etc can be prevented, right? so
Yes.
so sustainability as a topic is fairly complex. It's like wellness, right? I mean you can get well by doing 20 different things, right? You can eat better food, you can eat you can jog, you can go to a gym, etc. So like that, I mean, sustainability, there are 100 pathways and few hundred outcomes that are possible by those pathways, right? So the data is very critical for you to identify which is the most impactful pathway for you to choose, so that the impact that you create, right, is fairly high. So if you take, for example, the industry that we focus, fashion, right? Um, the the reduction of carbon footprint can happen through multiple ways, right? I mean, we are basically focused on supply chain sustainability, which is what is classified as scope three in the carbon footprint related areas.
Okay.
So if you look at scope three, um, for example, you can convert all your suppliers, factories to use renewable energy, right? Or you can move to more sustainable materials, which has less impact on the soil and less impact on the loss of biodiversity, right? So what we do is we give a mirror, right? So that the brands can know what are the potential high risk impacts that they are creating out there for the environment, and then identify the top priority ones, okay, where the effort versus outcome
Oh,
is favorable, and then they can invest on improving that. For example, moving to more sustainable materials, okay, so which means that where do you source that material from, and then continuously monitoring whether that movement or the pathway that you took is actually helping you to reduce your footprint, right? So basically, we help companies to use data collected from the supply chain about the facilities, about the materials, about every shipment, so that they first know the impact that they are creating. And then the second step is okay, if they're applying some improvement plans, try to prove them. And then the third step is improve, right? So identify new areas for continuously identify areas for improvement for them to improve. So that's what we do. That's it.
okay, that's very insightful and covering different aspects that usually, as you mentioned, that we talk a lot about sustainability, but probably we act quite less in that area. So I'm just curious that with your background, how you transition into sustainability tech, because that's one particular branch. So how did that transition happen?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there are some personal reasons, okay, which also got connected with this. So, all four of us co-founders, we met in HCL, okay, I mean, it's where I used to work before. And then we had complementary skills. So we found that, okay, maybe why not we do something, start on our own. And two of my colleagues live in Stockholm, and two of us live in India. And one of my co-founder in India, he lives in Coimbatore. So when we're looking for problems, right, that's when this blockchain as a technology was coming up. Okay, so the whole idea of decentralized network, right, was fairly interesting. When you look at some of the problems, I mean, or new age problems that can be solved by new tech, by this decentralized network. One interesting area that we found was this supply chain, right? The complexities involved in supply chain, because most of the time you have visibility to your direct suppliers, but I mean the supply chain goes at least 2-3 layers beyond that.
Yeah.
So I mean, so the idea of decentralization was very much applicable. And then I mean, one of my other co-founder, he lives in Coimbatore. They have farms, and I mean, while Tirupur gave us a lot of economic benefit, it also resulted in degradation of the environment, right? So it acted as a trigger, right? I mean, a conversation, because well, Stockholm was very high on sustainability, but they shifted the burden to countries like India, where we were taking that environmental burden, and they were talking about sustainability. So it was a very interesting trend that we were seeing. And maybe all of this just connected together. And we said, okay, why not we focus on sustainability? I mean, it was very new for a lot of us. Okay, I mean, because in 2016 when we started this, I mean, company by end of 2016, even for us, we had to really learn what sustainability means. I mean, just going to the SDG goals and trying to make sense out of it. So, yeah, it was a problem that we felt was worth solving.
Okay, that's an interesting journey that four of you wanted to solve some problem, and then with some personal experiences, it came out that okay, sustainability is something that we should be serious about. And as you mentioned that okay, you leverage data to achieve the desired impact. So, what is the role of data here? Because there was some statement by an eminent person that data is the new oil, and I think many people are still exploring that how data is going to be the new oil. So what's your experience on that, that what is the importance of data in solving this problem?
Yeah. Um, so let's take a simple example, right? I mean, if you want to understand, okay, what is my the footprint of this T-shirt that I'm wearing, okay? So now we have two approaches to solve this problem, right? One, there are some universities which has done what they call as LC analysis, life cycle analysis, okay? Through which they have built some standard data points. I mean, for example, in India, we have roughly about 60 to 70% of power generated by coal, right? So, which means that I mean, every production which uses the electricity from the grid has 70% or 60% of impact based on the emission that coal creates, okay? Which is fairly large when you compare to hydro or nuclear or other power plants, okay? Now, assuming I am a supplier, okay, who has implemented a solar panel, because the government is also incentivizing, and there is a significant improvement in terms of the solar panels. Now, if I use the country average data, then the impact that I have created is not something that I can actually fix. But if I look at the percentage of renewable energy that the supplier is using to manufacture this t-shirt, which is a very specific data about the supplier who was involved in manufacturing this t-shirt. Okay.
Yep.
Then I get data which is actionable. Right. The other information is okay. For example, if I know that this t-shirt is made of 90% cotton and 10% elastin, okay. So different materials have different ability to recover back. Okay. So how much of material I can recover back is based on the material composition of this t-shirt, and also the processing method which was used, the chemicals that was used on dyeing this, and so on, right? All of this data, when it continues to live through the life cycle of this garment, okay, which means that I can take better decisions of how to dispose this, I mean, or how to recycle this, right? Because I mean, we have one planet, right? I think we all know that. I mean, we are having constraint on resources, which means these future business models have to be circular. So every product that you produce should be, I mean, we should be capable of recovering that back, the materials back, and then reproducing using that material. So which means the data, I mean, the data on this T-shirt, right? I mean, should tell me exactly what materials it had, what was the footprint that it had when it was produced. So it becomes very critical for the customers to take the right product decisions, and also for the life cycle. I mean, companies that are involved in managing the life cycle of this garment beyond use, for them to take the right decision of what to do. So, I mean, data is a very critical backbone of all the 2030 goals that every company has taken.
Okay, that's interesting. And what about the difference between using that data? Because as you mentioned that it's a data, but probably a company A might be using some ABC factors which are different from the other company, which might be using some other factor to decide that how sustainable they are, right? So is there a standardized format in there, or people are using their own format or algorithm or whatever we call here?
Yeah. So I think there are some regulations emerging, okay, especially in Europe, about what you can claim, how to calculate footprints, and how to put this information on the products, and so on, right? So far, people have been using their own custom approaches to say, okay, I mean, you can say, okay, this is sustainable, right? You can just
Yeah.
put a logo on your product saying it is sustainable. I mean, I don't think, I mean, it's going to fly anymore. We want quantifiable science-based data to accompany a claim. It is up to me as a customer to see whether it is sustainable or not. I just need the data, right? So the regulations are coming in Europe, especially, so that the customers can take conscious decisions when they're consuming. And of course, there are new reporting regulations which are coming up. So that, I mean, it's standardizing at a corporate level. How do you report this data? Like, I mean, any non-financial reporting that happens today. So it's an
Okay.
emerging field. But today, I mean, somebody is saying number two, somebody is saying number four. Very difficult to correlate. How they arrived at number two and how they arrived at number four.
I can understand that, but good to know that different countries are at least putting some effort in making those regulations. And I think slowly and gradually, it's how every industry works. That first there are innovations, then there are so many different type of innovation. Then it starts standardizing, at least at the level one. That industry leaders come together, forums come together, and decide, okay, at least this is level one that we should all have the coherence with. I think that's how probably the different ports on mobile and different devices started, that everyone was using different kind of port, and then now we most of the devices seems to be using port C and those kind of thing, the regular USB port. That's interesting. And also it is when you were talking that how can we reuse the product, immediately one example came to my mind. Probably the old Indian way of living might be following that kind of lifestyle, because for example nowadays we might be just using a t-shirt and just throw it and buy something else. But probably the old Indian lifestyle at the grassroots level was like that, that probably when you used to use thing woven using woolen, so you can just reuse that, you can just dismantle it and make it again. And also probably using it even as a duster. Nowadays we don't prefer to use that thing as a duster, but at least it increases the lifestyle. So do you see that kind of conversation also coming in your conversation, that probably the lifestyle of the people and how we can inspire those things?
Yeah. So I think if you again, I mean, India, because we're a tropical country, we have a very different weather. But if you take, I mean, in European, where you have four seasons, and four seasons requires different type of garments, right? I mean, you need different variety of products to be used. I mean, it's unavoidable, right? When you're in that four season. So today, what we are seeing is, I mean, people are looking at renting products than buying them. Okay, re-commerce is emerging. Okay, so ideally, right, if you can extend the life of the product, if you can extend the use of the, or if you can increase the number of time the product is used, rather than it's lying in my closet and I'm just using, a tuxedo once in a decade, right? Why not I just rent it? So there are two parameters that people are today very, very interested to fix. One is the usage, how many times a product is used. So roughly, I think there is a study which says, okay, only 4 times a fast fashion product is used today. Okay, how can we increase from 4 to 8? Okay, and then how to increase the lifespan. Okay, so because fashion is my preference, right? Today I might like this t-shirt, while the t-shirt may be good, I may not like it. So how can I extend the usage of the product through e-commerce? It's an emerging area. We already have, in US, if you see Rent a Runway, it's already a unicorn, right? They just do renting of clothes. So the business model, right, should also encourage the movement towards such a circular model. And for example, today you have take backs, right? If you go to any of these large stores, they take back your old clothes and then you get some credit points. So companies are already building some models to recover, to manage. See, it's always better to recycle it in a centralized industrial place than trying to handle it yourself. Because eventually you convert it into a duster, finally it will end up in landfill. It is just that you are extending the life of the garment, or the use. You can never avoid that going into a landfill unless you give it back to an industrial process to recycle it.
That's a interesting insight that if you can extend the lifetime of any product through different kind of innovations, definitely it can. And I think there is a lot of scope there. Listening to this conversation, I can only imagine that there are a lot of innovation that can happen, that how you can increase. Because if we are just talking about sustainable, it seems like frankly speaking, for example, whenever I used to read that news in Save Tiger campaign, I used to feel that what is expected out of me right now, that
Yeah,
if a big brand is running Save Tiger campaign, what can I do, what is expected, because it's been like spread like on the newspaper. So it becomes like I'm concerned but I don't know what to do.
correct.
Same with sustainability. If there is a SDG conference, okay, I'm concerned but what can I do. But now listening that, okay, if I have one objective, one small goal, that the product that I'm using, can I somehow extend the life cycle of that product, right? And that itself can help me. Okay, if I can do that indirectly, I'm going to help the sustainability thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. Okay, I have a question coming from Rohit, that what are the common challenges while you faced while working in this space?
Yeah, so see, I think we have to understand commodity, right? For us to understand the complexity of the space. Okay, what is commodity? Anything that doesn't have an identity is commodity, right? You cannot identify what that is, where it is coming from, who made it, right? Now we are trying to decommoditize an industry. Okay, we are trying to build a story. We are trying to build an identity for every. So here maybe there is a logo, so you identify this product. Okay, but beyond this, you don't. This product doesn't have any other identity. Just it says it is made by whatever brand. But then, if I have to understand who was the supplier behind it, where did the cotton originate from? What was the impact of that cotton? Which means that now you are adding so much of attributes, so much of identity to this garment. Okay, it's like decommoditizing a commodity, which means that you're moving, you're trying to work against the force. So it's a big challenge. Okay, which means that suppliers have to be trained. They should be told why sharing this data becomes very critical. What is the impact of them being transparent? And standardizing on this data, looking at how to improve the quality of data. Okay, knowing what is truth and what is not truth. I think it's a fairly big problem, and supply chains are fragmented, right? Which means that you have a supply chain somewhere in China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Italy. So working with about 80 countries with different nationalities. I mean, yeah, name it, all, every possible challenges are there.
Again, first of all, probably the challenges of first acceptance, because this is something that as a business you are not doing something good, because somehow the conversation is starting, maybe starting from that tone that, okay, what's wrong? But this is not something probably any business would like to upfront accept that I am doing something wrong. Is that also a
Yeah,
challenge?
I think that's a very important point that we have to consider, right? So when we build this product, right, when we build this company, we really said that, okay, hey, don't try to victimize the suppliers. They're doing it, and you are outsourcing to them because you can get it cheap, and cheap doesn't come without other impacts, right? So why you were not able to build it in your country, right? Because I mean, you didn't have that much manpower. I mean, your laws were extremely hard to exploit working hours. Your laws were hard on protecting water bodies. And then a country like India, which is trying to use this as an economic opportunity, right? For us, I mean, there are basic needs which has to be met. Okay, so
True.
we were very clear right from the beginning that, hey, you have to collaborate with your suppliers than victimizing them. Don't blame it on them, right? Because their intent to exist or take this opportunity is something else. They just want, I mean, food for the family, right? That is their basic. They're trying to meet their basic needs. So it's a very very tough space. If we try to blame, if we try to find problem areas, I think we cannot be in this business. We all need to understand that, I mean, the consumer, if I'm buying if I'm buying a t-shirt in a discount, one extra t-shirt in a discount, I'm equally accountable because I'm getting more than what I want. So I mean, it's just that, I mean, don't blame anybody. Just say that, okay, all of us are a part of the ecosystem, how we can work together to improve. I think that is the mindset that all of us should have. We cannot say that, okay, suddenly stop producing, suddenly stop consuming. No, that cannot be said. It'll be really a tough conversation. I don't want to be an idealist.
No, I can easily get that, because that was my first thought, that when you are starting that conversation, what are the follow up conversation or follow up thoughts that can happen? And that came to my mind, that how brand will, so brands are actually open to do that kind of analysis, because on one side, if we keep that analysis just for us, then it seems like, okay, we are finding the data, but there is always a probably a trust or something like that. What if this data goes public and it came out that, okay, we are doing something very wrong, because something is which was not calculated so far, it's okay, it was done, but what if there is a company who analyze my data? I'm just putting myself as a company who might be interested in doing this analysis, and what if this report goes public and it came out that, okay, you are doing something wrong? So do we have this kind of fear also in the mind of founders?
There is no other choice today, right? Because there are a lot of NGOs which are actually whistleblowers, okay, out there, okay.
Okay.
So so there is an increased awareness, okay, and I don't think anybody is doing it wrong. I think people are busy in just running their business, okay. I mean, meeting their quarter to quarter numbers, etc., etc. Right? Sustainability team still reports into the CEO. In a lot of companies, it reports into the board. So it is taken important, but I mean, I think they were lacking the tools in the past, okay, where they can operate. So I think we have to just give credit to the brands because they have always tried to improve, right? I mean, see, assuming you had to buy the same dress 4 times the price. I mean, as a consumer, I'm also not going to pay. So, which means that, I mean, like I said, right, it's a ecosystem. There's a
Yeah.
balance in this system. Okay, we cannot just change one parameter and try to say, okay, I mean, this is the hero, this is the villain. No, it's not that discussion. Everybody is willing. It's just that they don't know where to start. They don't have the sufficient. I mean, if it requires huge investment, right? Will they invest in running their business, or will they invest in uh, uh, moving them? What are the incentives? So that's where government is playing a significant role, right? So, I mean, if you take ADB, Asian Development Bank, there are a lot of sustainability related investments which are happening right now. Okay, so green bonds have a special interest rate so that you can invest those money into sustainable projects. I mean, any financial support you need in EU, for example, right? One of the major due diligence that happens is, I mean, whether it is a sustainable investment, whether it's a green investment, right? In India, you have a lot of green funds now. So the money market is warming up. The companies, because I mean, unless you are focused on sustainability, right? As a company, you will have some trouble. You're following some unethical practices. At any point, you are at risk. It's a high risk investment. So if the systems are coming in place now. Okay. So far, everybody was focused on progress on one side. Now realization is happening that okay, we have to progress in a much more holistic way.
Got it. Thanks for answering that question. And Rohit, I hope your question is answered. Thanks for asking the question. I'll move to the next question, which is coming from Simple Setia. Simple Setia is asking what best practices should business or tech follows, especially while collecting the data.
Yeah, so I think incentivization becomes very critical, right? I mean, I think we cannot have a carrot and stick approach. I mean, a stick approach for collecting data. The incentivizations are going to be extremely critical. Again, there are no standard approaches which has emerged, but like I said, a lot of I mean, a lot of banks which are trying to give you special rates if you are more transparent to take care of I mean to manage your bills receivables and this thing. So there are incentive schemes which are getting created, and different brands also have special incentive schemes. Like okay, if you're doing this, then my percentage of my order with you will increase by so and so, right? So incentivization is the only way.
Okay, so incentivize. It's not a that you can't collect it through that stick model. You have to be show that there is going to be some usefulness of this working way, this way of working, and then use it for your benefit. That makes sense. Thanks, Simple, for asking the question. I'll move to the next question, and the question is that for example, there is a company. So let's take your own example. Have you ever thought that what is the sustainability score of your own company? And probably if once you answer that question, it can help other founders also to understand. For example, there is a tech company which is just starting up, and the tech founders right now is looking for the product market fit and all those crises. And while doing that, what they can do differently to understand what is the sustainability impact that they are doing. So any 3 or 4 action
Yeah.
points, or probably your company have done it for your own?
Yeah, so I think I mean we publish our sustainability reports annually. Okay, I mean fundamentally it's about understanding, for example, the carbon footprint that you are creating directly, right? Indirect is always very tough. Okay, direct footprint is very easy. Okay, for example, your energy consumption on say cloud. Most of the cloud vendors today are providing you the energy consumption related to the workload that you are hosting with them. Okay. The second thing is your operations, right? So, I mean, for example, your energy consumption for the facilities that you have, and then the mode of transport and how people come to office, how much distance they travel, how many air travels or how many official travels you make outside your place. These are basic data that you can start collecting. And there are very simple Excels out there which can, if you just give this data, the Excel can plot your footprint and it will start, at least you can start measuring, right? I mean, whether you want to improve, because I mean, today your priority is to just grow the business, right? Maybe you cannot,
Yeah.
you really don't want to optimize on anything at this point, but at least start building that awareness, and have a time plan saying, okay, in the next 3 years, I will start working on these two parameters. Okay. For example, I mean, reduce my travels, convert as many meetings as remote as possible, or reduce my own energy consumption by adopting some green energy sources, etc. So, or reduce your cloud workload. I mean, but the technology. I mean, today even AI technology uses just significant amount of power. So you cannot avoid using those technologies, but you can be, I mean, slightly careful about, I mean, how you use those models. Uh, it will be beneficial, right? So at the end of the day, if you save, if you become more sustainable, you are actually going to save your costs.
Okay. And is there any trusted website or your own website? You mentioned about Excel, but is there any self-assessment type of website where people can start putting up some data and start getting that information or
I mean, we
analysis?
can just Google. I mean, I think we can just. I mean, I can't recall any direct website. Okay, but it's
Okay.
very easy to find some of them. Okay, scope one, scope two calculators, right? So I think you can
Okay.
easily find them.
And Madhav, you mentioned about just now that when we are using AI for any tech company like VectoScalar also, where we are providing solutioning on AI. So when we use AI, you mentioned that it's using more power and there is impact. So for sustainability kind of solution, there must be some scope where we might be leveraging and your company might be leveraging AI ML. That's on one side, and that leveraging that technology is also causing that impact. So how do you balance that? So probably first question would be that, are you leveraging AI ML to solve this problem, to create this impact?
Yeah, definitely. We are using AI to improve the quality of data that we have. Okay, and what we need to understand, and even if you look at SDG goals, okay, uh, they. I mean, when you're taking some of these goals for your company, what is the applicability? It's like how the normal life is, right? There is no yin without a yang. Okay, so there is no positive thing without having anything negative in it, right? Now, if you, the only thing that you can do is be conscious and start consciously reducing, right, the impact. So, for example, like I said, right, I mean, I think if you are using a public cloud models, moving to SLMs, you might not, your use case might not need LLM. Maybe you use LLM to build your use case and launch it first, but then slowly start moving towards SLMs because you don't need so many parameters for all the use cases. Well, it's really fast to get accelerated development to launch, but once you launch the feature, then you can start looking for options to reduce working on such powerful models. So, like I said, it's just being aware. Okay, that is the first step. Okay, what is your consumption today? Your priority, of course, is to build a business, to launch a product faster, because you really don't want to focus on optimizing your energy usage than innovating on the product. Right? As a startup, you focus on innovating on the product, but then start monitoring these things so that you will start acting on them as you go forward. That's our approach. Today we start with public models, I mean with powerful LLMs, but then we slowly start also adopting, moving some of the use cases to small language models or some low intensive AI models.
Okay. Okay. Uh, thanks for asking that question, Madhav. And while you were answering that question, another thought came to my mind that uh, about the resources. When we are looking for technology and building any technology, building any solutioning, one of the major requirement is to have the relevant technical talent who can solve that problem. Now, for an industry which is just booming up, for example, if I want to find engineers who have worked on travel solution or on e-commerce solution, there are plenty, right? But finding a quality resource engineer who has worked on sustainability and having some understanding about sustainability could be quite rare. So as a company and especially as a CTO of the company, how did you crack that problem to finding right resources for your company?
Yeah, so we are. I mean, we have taken years of knowledge we have built by working with customers, right? So I think the best teacher for us is our customers. Okay, so most of our processes, okay, we have a discovery process for us to uh, identify, okay, what is the actual need of a customer, and then what is the right solution for solving the problem. Okay, so we leverage these UX processes for us to go deeper and improve our understanding when a customer gives us a problem. And the customer is a part of the co-innovation, right? So this company was started as a co-innovation project. Okay, we innovated with a couple of Swedish companies. We took grant from the Swedish government. and then we built it as an innovation project with a couple of customers. So it's an emerging field. I mean, we should be really humble about what we know, and I mean, just keep it open. So my focus on hiring a team, right, is to today we have a very dedicated team which is just building this knowledge base. Okay, so if you go to our website, you will see knowledge base not only for us, even for our customers, because it's not a industry like CRM, right, where everything is commoditized, right? You exactly know what to expect from a CRM. Here, even we don't know, not our customers know. So it's very important for us to first build that dominant design, okay, for this problem, and then try to, I mean, first define the problem in a consistent way so that all the customers see the problem in the same way. Then you build a dominant design, okay, so that the solution for this or the approach that we take to solve this problem is getting accepted. So that is where majority of our focus and time goes in as a management team also. So it's not an easy job. I mean, it's a continuous process.
Yeah, I can see that continuous process, and I hope our audience can also sink in with that thought that it may seems like a buzzword like sustainability, but there is a lot going behind the scene to make it work, to create the actually the desired impact, and how data can be leveraged. And for the audience, if you really want to know more about the concept that we just discussed during the TED Talk today, you can connect Madhav at the LinkedIn at his LinkedIn shown below, and you can also definitely visit his website. He just mentioned that it is having good lot of knowledge base. So if you are interested, and I would say everyone should be interested in knowing more about sustainability, knowledge about those things, you can visit that link. And with that, my last question to you, Madhav, would be that what is the next big opportunity? How do you see the future of sustainability growing, especially in India?
Yeah, so I think we are already doing a lot of work in sustainability in India. I mean, I think there was a significant scheme that came up around the solar power adoption. We already see identity for Indian cotton getting built. Okay, I mean, I think they're calling it as Kasturi cotton or something. So in India, all the innovation happens, I mean, or the best of the innovation at scale happens with public and private partnership. Okay. So we're expecting that, I mean, certain regulations will start taking in. Already people are talking about ESG reporting being mandatory in India. And then, I mean, as consumers, I mean, if we can train us, I mean, whatever you said, right? I mean, just going back to our old principles. Okay. I think maybe we have lost it a bit. Maybe we should just train that. So, and quite a few startups, sustainable tech startups exist in India. So there is a lot of awareness. Everybody sees this as an opportunity. There are special programs in IITs which focus on sustainability. So I don't think it's a small field anymore. I think it's we have enough attention being given in India right now for this.
Okay, and it's good, always good to see that kind of comment coming up, because earlier, probably 10, 15 years, 20 years earlier, things were different, that things were not happening. Nowadays, whenever we are having this weekly tech talk, we are getting this kind of feeling that even when there is a foreign person joining this call, international person, they always experience that India is growing like anything. India is implementing things like anything compared to any part of the world. So the growth, the implementation, everything is good happening at the India level. So with that thought, thanks Madhav, thanks for taking out time and being on VectoScalar Tech Talk show. It was very useful to know about sustainability and how we can leverage data to achieve the desired impact.
Thank you so much, because really nice talking to you, and yeah, some great questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And towards the end, thanks audience for being always an active listener and asking those questions in the comment box below. You can also ask your future question in the comment box below, and I will make sure that we answer all those questions. With that thought, keep enjoying, keep learning, keep growing. Have a nice day ahead. Bye bye. From VectoScalar Tech Talk, Vikas Jain signing off. Thanks.
Bye bye.